Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. My name's Douglas and I make fishing videos and tutorials to hopefully inspire you to go out and try new fishing methods and to help you catch more fish. Well guys, you join me on the shore today and I'm actually at a beach, and this is Dunbar Beach, otherwise known as Belhaven Beach. Just trying to keep the camera steady. It's a little bit windy today. So yeah, Belhaven Beach, it's about 22 miles south of Edinburgh, just off the A1. It's a lovely little beach. I've never been on the beach before when someone has been fishing here. So I've always had the beach to myself. I know people do fish here because I've seen the odd video from other people. But yeah, today I'm going to do something a bit different today. A bit different to your normal sort of beach fishing with heavy gear. Big beach casters, and I'm just fishing as light as possible. Now I was here last week with my son and the weather was a bit different. The surf was very big, just like today. It's still big today because even though the wind today is blowing offshore, the last time I was fishing last week it was a northeasterly wind, so it's southwesterly just now. It was northeasterly last week, and we've still got a swell coming in even though we've got an offshore wind. So we've got a nice bit of surf today. Hopefully it's not too big. The last time it was really weedy when I was here with Connor, my son. We did not too bad. We had several flounder and my son got a turbot, and he's not been fishing for about 26 years, and he got his turbot on his first session on the beach, which was awesome. So yeah, tactics today are a lot different to what I normally fish on the beach, and this is a method that I've done before and not on camera, so it's a first for the channel today of using this method. So the rod I've got today is an 11-foot feeder rod. Now just a point about a feeder rod, it is for freshwater fishing, and if you're going to use rods that are predominantly built for freshwater, if you're using it in salt water, is when you get home just give it a good rinse in fresh water and it will last. If you don't do that, things like the rod guides can rust on you, and the last thing you want when you go fishing is for a rod guide or your top eye to come off when you're fishing. The reel is a 3000 size reel, and that's loaded with 20-pound braid. The mono that I've got on is a little shock leader, and on my rig is only 10-pound fluorocarbon, so very light. I'm starting off with a 1 ounce lead, so 30 grams. This rod is rated to 50 grams. Now you might ask, why am I using a feeder rod? Well, I'm using a feeder rod for a lot of different reasons actually. One, it's 11 foot. So a good bit of length, especially in a surf like this, and if it was weedy it means that I can hold my rod up high and keep as much line off the water as possible, especially if it's weedy. If your line's in the water, the more line that's in the water, the more chance of getting weeded up and your lead or weight just dragging in the tide. Another reason for the feeder rod is very light, so I can use this all day, I can keep it in my hand all day, and this method is about being mobile. You know, I do love to sit on the beach with the tripod, the big rod's out, and just chill out on the beach and watch that rod tip all day. But this setup, I'm fishing very light. I've only got a light bag with me today. In fact, I'm probably carrying more camera equipment than fishing gear today. So a light bag, some bait, some hook rigs and some weights, and some extra fluorocarbon should I need it. Another reason for fishing so light is I'm going to be in contact with my rig at all times. The light braid, the light line, and that way bite registration is really good, especially on the feeder rod. It's got a nice sensitive tip, even though I've got the stiffest tip in this feeder rod. And guys, this feeder rod is £30, cheapest chips, and I use this rod for a multitude of different methods, even sea trout fishing with the bombarder. Now I'll go through the rig and all that as we go through the session. Today the tides is not the best tide today, so the tides today, they're not the best as I said, and they're really short, neat tides today. And I've got about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours until high tide. So a little bit of high tide, and then I'll fish the whole ebb tide to low water, and I may possibly get an hour or so of the flood tide. So it'll be interesting to see how productive it is today. The bait I'm going to be using today is very simple, one bait, mackerel bait, and I'll give you a few tips on how I prepare the mackerel bait for today. Everything is prepared in advance. I've got no cool box, it's not frozen, and it's a cool tip, guys. Behind me there's a little estuary, the River Eden comes into the North Sea here, so a little bit of an estuary. I've never fished as high up the beach as this before, but apparently it's more productive up this end. Hoping for flounder, dabs, maybe even a turbot. I've got waders on, I will be getting in the surf. Let's get the line out, guys, and see if we can catch some fish. So basically I'm fishing a one up, one down, but I'm using what's known as a helicopter rig, and they use helicopter rigs in coarse fishing from a top dropper, which basically means that the entire snood spins round really freely. And guys, if you've beach fished before, a helicopter rig's no different to like a flapper rig with a swivel. Now obviously you're going to be bouncing about a bit. I've got you on a pole there, and the waves are obviously hitting that pole like just now. I'm going to cast out into the surf, and I'll give you a look about to where I'm casting. Basically I'll explain while I'm fishing. So I'm going to cast into the surf, 1 ounce lead. I'm going to tighten up onto my weight so that I can feel what's happening. Now I can feel the lead bumping on the sand. Yeah, it's getting pulled really quickly in the tide, so I may need to keep my rod up a bit higher. So basically I'm just casting into the surf just now. Like I said, I've got waders on, so I'm a bit away from the shoreline. And the good thing about having waders on when you're fishing in a surf like this is, if the tide's running really strong, you're actually in the water anyway, so you can just fish either down tide or up tide. So that little weight's bouncing nicely. It's not bouncing too fast, it's not drifting too fast, so quite good. I'm just going to lift my rod up a bit higher to see if I can get less of a drift with the tide. Yeah, that's a bit better. The wave's catching the line now and again. But I should get really good bite indication with this method, especially with the light tip, which is, for me, seeing the bites is the best part of fishing. Now I'll just tell you briefly what hooks I've got on just now. Below the weight I've got a size 2 Aberdeen hook, so quite small. Normally when I'm fishing for flounders I really like fishing with circle hooks, but because I'm fishing this method and I'm going to see the bites really straight away, the fish is not going to have much time to sit on that bait. I've got a slight running rig, so anything that takes that bottom hook is going to be direct to my line, so another good bite indication. And on the top dropper, or the top snood, I've just got a short length of line with a little snood, and I've got a size 1 circle hook. I've got a feeling I've got a bit of weed on this. So this rig should be virtually tangle free today. Shouldn't get much line twist. So casting right into the surf, probably right into the middle of the surf actually, between the first breaker and me. Keep my rod up. stay in touch with that bait. Loads of gannets diving just beyond the first breakers. Now, like I said, because I've got the feeder rod, I can fish with this all day because it is super light. Just resting it on my thigh, little bend in the rod. The tide's pushing right to left, so that way it's moving quite fast in the tide, but that's good because, you know, flatfish, particularly flounders, are really inquisitive. They see something moving, they'll go investigate, and you know, once they see it's bait, they're going to have a go at it. And obviously, because I'm travelling so light, you know, a little bag, my pack's on the beach, my backpack, it's so quick and easy just to move. If nothing's happening, just move and you go after the fish rather than wait on the fish coming to you. But yeah, so good to be on the beach. After that last session, although it was miserable, you know, there was misty all day, yeah, it really gave me a bit of a buzz, as well as watching good friend and fishing buddy Phil from Another Angle UK. He's been doing really well. Had a few fishing sessions on the beach and on his little boat. I will put a link to Phil's channel in the description for you to check that out, guys. He does a lot of fishing around the country and on the east coast for sea fishing. Now that tide has lifted my rig and I'm literally parallel to where I am just now. Or the end of my rod tip, that is. So what I'll do in the next cast is, the tide's, as I say, is going right to left, so I'm going to cast up tide and let it come towards me, just taking in the slack. So a little cast up tide, keeping that line off the water, keeping the rod up high. I think what I'll do is I'm going to see this cast out, and I might go closer to that estuary just to see. As I said, I've never fished as far up as this before, so it'll be interesting. I've got a bite, guys. I'm going to try and get the rod tip on the camera. Don't know if you can see that. Now just give it a minute. Yeah, there it goes, rattle. And I'm just going to wind into that. Yeah, got something on. I don't want it to sit on that bait too long to get deep hooked. Probably a little flounder, but the bite detection is superb with this rod. Where is it? Yeah, little flounder on the circle hook. Brilliant. That's a nice size. There we go, guys. Lovely big spots on that. Anyone would think that's a plaice, but it's definite flounder. Should come out really easy with this circle hook. Oh, it's taken both baits. Greedy bugger. It's taken the dropper and the Aberdeen hook. and that was really quick. So what I might do, because that took that really quick, and it's taking this deep, so I'm going to get my forceps out, get it unhooked and get it away. But excellent first fish. I'll see you in a minute, guys. Hey guys, so finally got that unhooked. Because it took both hooks, took the Aberdeen hook really deep. I got it out. It took me a bit longer than expected because of messing about in the surf here. But I've changed that bottom hook to another circle hook because I just don't like deep hooking the flounder, and because I want to unhook them quickly because I don't want to keep going ashore all the time. I'm going to bring this in, check the bait. Oh, it might be in. Yeah, a little flounder. And it's away. Good thing about the circle hooks. Just get rebaited, get back out there. The bites of this area have been quite rapid every time. It's biting again. I think this is on. Ah, tiny one. Ah, two. Little tiny one. A beautiful little fish. I'll get this one unhooked, guys, so I'll give you a little look. Lovely. Not bad, 4 fish. Getting some bites again, guys. Just recast out after getting that other fish. That's the downside with using circle hooks. If you're too quick with the strike, the hookup rate is not as good as normal hooks. And if you leave it too long and you deep hook with a circle hook, it can really be bad for the fish. Because even though with flatfish, you know, there is a special way you can unhook fish with like Aberdeen hooks, and you can turn the hook. But because the circle is, you know, so curved, it's very hard to turn the hook if you do deep hook them. That's why I don't try and let the bites develop too much, just in case you do deep hook with a circle hook. Hopefully this one's not deep hooked. It's definitely on. In fact, it feels not too bad. unless there's two again. Now that bite came really quickly, which is really good. I'm really surprised that it's been productive on the outgoing tide. Good to know actually for the future. It's on the mackerel. I'll get this unhooked, guys. I'll see you in a minute. Excellent. Lovely colours. So just recast and got bites almost straight away, within 5 seconds. I think this fish could be on. Yeah, I think it's on. It's a nice bite, nice pulling bite. This seems to be fighting different as I'm bringing it in. I wonder. Ah, flounder. Lovely. Get this guy unhooked and we'll get back out. So guys, I thought I'd just take you through the rig and a little bit about the bait. Just while the tide's on its way out now, it's probably turned 45 minutes ago, so it's racing out just now. And I had a little sort of break here, I had a little bit of lunch. So like I said guys, I'm using the 11-foot feeder rod. This is the Shakespeare Omni class feeder rod, and it is rated 30 to 50 grams. A little 3000 size reel, 20-pound braid, and I've got a shock leader on that, which is 10-pound fluorocarbon, and that's probably about 10 foot long. On the end of the shock leader, I've just got a little, you'll not be able to see it very clearly because it's so fine. I've got a little loop knot, and on the end of my rig, which is about 1 metre long, I've got another loop knot on the end, and it's a loop-to-loop connection. Because I'm fishing so light, I want to reduce the sort of hardware on the rig, especially when it's weedy. You know, the less hardware you've got on your rig, the less chance you've got of catching weed, or reducing it anyway. And like I said, I'm fishing a sort of one up, one down. On the top snood, this is a sliding snood, so I've got small float stops in that, a double one on the bottom and one on the top, and a little micro swivel with a little bit of silicone just to keep that away from the rig, reducing tangles. And I've got a little bit of line coming off that, which is twisted, and again another loop-to-loop connection to the hook length, which is only about 4 inches long, and that is the size 1 circle hook. So like I said, because I can slide that up and down the rig, I can put it closer to the weight or further away from the weight, depending on how I feel things are going. That then comes to my sliding quick release swivel onto a little 1 ounce bomb, and on the end of that I've got a twizzled boom. That just helps to kick it away from the weight, again reducing tangles. And on the end of the twizzled boom I've got another figure of 8 knot, a little loop, and the hook length on the bottom, which is the one down, that's about 12 inches long, and again another figure of 8 loop knot, loop to loop connection onto some beads, and a little homemade sort of float stop, and that just keeps the beads from running up and down the line. And on the bottom hook, again, size 1 circle hook. Now you'll notice with the baits I've got a little strip bait and a little cube, and again on the top just a little strip of mackerel, just the belly part of the mackerel. And what I've done with the bait, guys, is last year I did a little video on the easiest way that I catch mackerel for bait, and you know, I'll put a little link up here and you can watch that if you feel like watching it. And it is a really easy way to catch mackerel, and it's my go-to method when fishing for mackerel when I just want bait quickly or something quick for dinner. So like I said, I caught them a year ago, and 2 days ago I took them out of the freezer just to soften very slightly so I could fillet them. They were still frozen, but you know, there was enough give to get the knife through them. And then what I did was, with the fillets, I salted those fillets in some just cheap table salt, salted them for 24 hours, and then after that, the day after, when they firmed up and a lot of the moisture was reduced, I then cut them up into little cubes. So in this bag, this is just all salted cubes. Just take off some of the excess salt. Don't know if you can make that out on camera. Just little cubes, probably about a centimetre by a centimetre, roughly square. And what I did was I cut off the belly strip so that it was quite an even fillet, so I could cube them. And the belly strips cut into small strips. Again, I'll just try and shake off some of this excess salt, and I just cut the belly strips into small strips. And again, yesterday I salted them in some fresh salt, taking away the salt that was full of moisture from the first 24 hours, and now they're relatively dry. And what I did with just a little bit of the batch was I made up some brine, probably about 50-50, 50% salt, 50% water, so really salty. So after the first 24 hours, you know, when I was cutting them into strips and I was cubing them, I then put them into this brine just to see the difference. Because the last time I fished here, which was a week ago, I used the dry stuff, and I had a batch in the freezer that I did a while ago which had the salt in it, and they were really dry. But you know, they rehydrated really quickly in the salt, you know, in the seawater. But I just thought I'd see how these would look. These are in the brine. So I've got some strips and I've got some cubes as well. And they stayed on the hook really well this morning. In fact, that's what I caught the first flounder on. So through the rest of the day, I'll mix and match and see how the cubes and strips fare throughout the day. And if they go too soft, which I don't think they will, because obviously they had that 24-hour salting and now they're in a really salty brine, so you know, they shouldn't lose any more moisture. I don't think they're going to soften up that much, if at all. And the reason I did this is because, you know, like today, I'm travelling very light. Usually when I come to the beach, I've got a little cool box that I keep all my bait in, and because it's all pre-done, you know, I'm not messing about chopping up bait on the beach. I don't need to take it frozen. And the beauty about this, guys, is although the sun's out today, it's quite cold, you know. It's I would say autumn is firmly here. Yeah, it was 4 degrees travelling in the car this morning. But if I was fishing in the summer on a hot day, because most of the moisture, if not all the moisture in the fillets, and then obviously once you cube them and all that, because most of the moisture is out of the fish, even when they warm up in the sun, they don't deteriorate that much, so they last a lot longer. And like I said, because of today I'm travelling quite light, I'm walking along the beach, I don't want to be messing about chopping up bait, so it's all done. You know, catch a fish or a rebait, simply take the old stuff off, put the new stuff on, and you keep fishing. So a little tip there, guys, on how I like to prepare my bait. I'm certainly going to keep a batch of these all the time now. Fresh mackerel is best. Fresh mackerel is probably the best bait, but it needs to be really fresh to stay on the hook any length of time. Otherwise you're using a bait and elastic to try and keep it on. Now I've not used bait and elastic at all today, so I'm really impressed on how this is holding up, and I'll probably give another update at the end of the session, just how well it's done. So guys, now that the tide's turned, I'm going to head down the beach and see if we can get some more flatfish. Tiny, perfect hooked. Just getting some more little bites here. So good just seeing the lightest of bites on this rod, or any light rod really. So this will be, well, if it's one fish, this will be the 9th fish, and I've seen 8 bites out of the 9. This feels not too bad. Oh, it's a lovely flounder. Look at that. What a corker. Beautiful. Get this guy on hook. I'm just going to strike this now. The bigger one was on the top dropper and it got off the circle hook. But this is not too bad as well. Lovely spots on it. I'll get this unhooked. It's not that deep hooked. Shouldn't be too bad. Back in a minute. Number 10. That is perfection in miniature. Thank you, buddy. Right in the surf. Now in terms of the bait that I've been using, between the wet and the dry, I've actually stuck to the dry bait, the dry salted mackerel, cubes and the little strips. Not that the wet isn't any good. The wet is staying on, it's doing its job. But the reason I've been sticking to the dry is it's much easier to handle, especially when I'm on the water and I'm baiting up. I've got a tub of water with bait in it and you're trying to hook, and I've obviously got the rod under my arm. So the dry salted mackerel has been better for handling. And especially when I'm, standing in the water and I'm casting quite regular and baiting quite regular. So both of them are really good. But in terms of this kind of fishing, when I'm standing rod in hand, the dry has been much better for handling. This feels a nice fish. It's great to actually get a fight of a flounder, because I'm using light gear. Yeah, nice fish. A lovely fish. Touching the pound mark on the circle hook. Nice and easy hooking. Get this guy back. Thank you, buddy. I'm so impressed with the outgoing tide, how productive it was. I think I had 17 fish on the outgoing tide and that one on the last of the incoming tide. So really impressed. And I think I said earlier at the start that I've never fished an outgoing tide here fully, just because I thought it wouldn't be productive. And it just goes to show. Now, I don't think it'll be like that all the time, but I am just super impressed how good it was. I'm going to check this. I think I've got something on. Yeah. Little flounder. I think that's number 19. Look at the spots on that. So on this size one, I can get 4 cubes of mackerel, and I just tip that off with a little strip. You don't need to tip it off, but that's what I've been using today. The last time we were just using tubes. I got one. Took a little while. Taking the 2 hooks again. Greedy bugger. Difference in that one. Very little spots. I'll get this guy unhooked. Twice unhooked. I'll be back in a minute. I've got a fish on, guys. Oh, this is biting a good bit, this. A cracking bite. Might not even be a flounder. a fight. It's a nice flounder. Oh, cracker. What a beauty. That's a flounder. What about that, guys? On the circle hook. Sun's nearly going down. That's a good £1.5. Beautiful. There you go. Easy unhooking. What a scrap that gave on the light rod. That's why I like it. Well guys, I've had an absolutely awesome day today. I think I've had 23 fish, and that big one, that was the last one I've had. It went a bit quiet there at the end, the light's fading, it's time to pack up and go home. I'm absolutely freezing. Not because of the water, because the wind is just so cold, especially since the sun went away quite a while ago. But yeah, really cold. You can do with a coffee. Got a long walk back to the car, a long drive back home, and yeah, I had a brilliant day. Really did have a brilliant day. I do want to give a shout out to Stephen from Sparta Fishing UK. Thanks very much, Stephen, for the mug and the bass lures. I'm getting to use the bass lures this year. It's probably a bit late now for me, maybe next year. Guys, go and check him out. He does a lot of fishing around the UK, does a lot of fishing in Scotland, and yeah, he does some fantastic videos, so go and check him out, guys. Guys, if you want to see the session that I did the last time here, when I was using obviously the sort of standard beach casting gear when I was with my lad, go and check that out here. And all I've got left to say is tight lines, happy fishing, and I'll see you next time on Piscator UK.